Welcome to this Killik Explains finance video. This week we've seen a new pound coin introduced, so I'm going to explain why, exciting and shiny though it is, it doesn't really help savers. New coin, old problem. Right, the backdrop then. We have a new 12-sided coin in circulation, and that's going to replace the one that came into existence in 1983, the pound coin we know and love. Things have changed a little bit over the intervening period, and one of the most important things for savers is what's happened to the purchasing power of £1, whether it's the old pound or whether it's the new pound. Now, for the geeks, this is exciting. It's a 12-sided coin, so it's quite clever. Bimetallic, latent imaging, micro lettering, milled edges, and a bonus hidden security feature to make it hard to forge and so on. So that's all quite exciting. But for investors and savers, I'm afraid the message is the same as it's always been. This may be a new shiny pound coin, but a pound is not worth what it used to be worth when the new old coin was introduced, even if they look the same, which they don't quite, and that's because of inflation. More about that in a moment. In other words, rising prices over that sort of period reduce your purchasing power, which means a pound now, new or otherwise, buys a lot less than it did then, and that has an implication for the way you think about cash as part of a saving strategy. Now, just to give you some examples, in case you don't believe me. In 1983, according to the government, £1, that's the old pound if you like, would buy you around 18 eggs. Now, it'll buy you a box of 6. Or take diesel, that's a common expense for a lot of people. In 1983, a pound would buy you 2.7 litres. Now, it'll buy you just under 1. Probably getting the idea, but just hammer it home. Take bread. In 1983, according to the government, you could buy 2 loaves of bread with change for a pint of milk to boot. Now, you just get about 1 loaf of bread and no milk. So you get the idea. The pound looks the same, but it doesn't buy as much. Now, to give that a bit of sort of historical perspective on a proper chart, £1 in 1983 is the equivalent of about £3.25 now. In other words, purchasing power has been eroded by inflation over that time period. And the graph, which I've taken right back to the mid-70s in this case, looks a bit like that, with purchasing power continually declining, that's the pink line, as you move into the future. And that we need to worry about in a moment. Now, Barclays have shown that over a period 1965 to 2015, things look a bit like this. Cash lags in real return, that's post-inflation return terms, both government IOUs and shares. Whilst the past is no guarantee of future performance, you can see quite clearly that as a long-term saver, this looks like it's got a bit more potential than that, let's say. Cash has its place, but let's be careful that we understand what that place is. Now, our view of the world tends to be this. Cash does have its place as a rainy day fund that's going to travel with you for redundancy, for illness, to fix that leaky roof. Yes, you need liquidity, you need cash. But if you're aiming much further out, now for some people retirement's a long way off, some people not so far off, so it does depend, but if it's a long way off, equities are probably a much better bet for building long-term wealth. In the middle, you've got these foreseeable calls on capital, and you need to meet them, and you'll need to have the cash available to meet them. So if they fall within the next 5 to 7 years, stock market history suggests you want to be in something liquid like cash and or short duration bonds. Further out, you might be moving more into equities. So you basically invest your money sensibly according to the goals you're trying to achieve. Now, that does require a certain amount of discipline, right? You can't just pile out of cash into equities willy-nilly. So, 10 golden rules, just finish this video. Don't panic sell, as other people do when the market turns down. Put yourself in a position where you don't have to be a forced seller. In other words, you don't have to liquidate for a foreseeable call of capital just as the market's going down. There are ways to manage that. Don't follow the crowd. Diversify. Get rid of that single stock risk as far as you can. Commit to time in the market. Don't get too clever trying to time dips and troughs in the market. Very few people get that right, and most of them are lucky if they do. Invest in things you understand. It does help. Get your time horizon right. In other words, if you're close to retirement, your strategy will be different to someone who's 40 years away from retirement. Understand and manage risk correctly. So understand your risk appetite, understand when it's appropriate to take on more risk and when it's appropriate to take on less. Save tax efficiently. Why pay money to the government if you don't have to? And regularly review your strategy to make sure it remains age, time horizon and risk appropriate. Lots of ground covered there. More detail on all of these messages either by emailing me, editor@killik.com, or by going to my video library, killik.com/learn.